Lesli, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Sandra, for having me. And y'all have just been wonderful about coordinating everything. And I'm not the easiest person to coordinate with, and I recognize that. So thank you. But it's an honor. And I've got to say real quick, if any of you get an email from me here in the next day or so, don't open it. I got hacked, and that it's just been a nightmare. So if you get an email from me from Lesli Akers at kw.com, don't open it for right now. And there's a link, don't open it. Okay. Thank
All
you.
right. Well, thanks for the warning. So, Lesli, one of the things I always like to start with is why I chose the person that I chose. Each month, I talk about that, and it's kind of funny. Lesli and I had never actually met, which is crazy. Of course, I've heard her name before. I know things about her, but I had never actually met her. And at Luxury Symposium, my good friend Bob Lucido, we were chatting, and he's so generous. He always says, "What can I do to help you?" And he was one of my best speakers. When he was with me, he did a great job. So I asked him, "Well, who would you recommend?" And immediately, Lesli, you got to meet Lesli. That's the person. And he literally drug me across Luxury Symposium and brought me to meet Lesli.
And I was so grateful for that. And I had heard you, Sandra, because Bob told me to get on and listen to you. He was like, she is doing a great job. You need to listen. And I did and agreed wholeheartedly. So, yeah, we're both very big fans of Bob Lucido. Definitely.
He's a great guy and a great connector. And if you ever have the opportunity to watch him work a room, oh my gosh, he is such a pro, like seamless. So he makes it look so easy. So if you ever have that opportunity, just watch him. Even if you're not in the conversation, watch how he works the room. It's amazing.
Well, and you know what? It's genuine but purposeful, which we've talked about. I've got to give you a
Absolutely.
quick story on that. So I'm not sure how many years ago this was. 8 years ago, 10 years ago. We were at Tony Giordano's wedding, and Bob was also invited, and he was out there, and we happened to sit at the same table with Mo Anderson. And it was fascinating to watch. So I was giving Mo a compliment on a recent ALC clinic she had conducted and brought up a few subjects of, here's some things I think we need to focus on as a company, blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden I look over, and after dinner, Bob is taking notes. I mean, he's got his little note, he carries that notepad in his blazer pocket. He
Yeah.
took that little notepad out, and he is taking notes left and right from Mo Anderson. And he still has those notes from Mo Anderson, and it was tips on leadership. And one of the things that she had mentioned, he brought this up. I saw him speak the other day in Dallas. But she had said her biggest fear for the company, this was what, a decade ago, was slowly creeping into the lack of standards.
Mm.
And I said, you know what, that's something we all need to look at in our own businesses. That's something that we need to look at with our own teams. That's something we need to look at in our personal lives, quite frankly, is what standards, because when we're not upholding a standard, they're what? A suggestion. So it was interesting to me that that's Mo's biggest tip for Bob that evening. Okay, sorry, I digressed.
No, but that's great, Lesli. That's something that on our team, I have 15 to 20 agents on my team, depending on, what's going on. And that's a conversation that we have. We actually just had that conversation. We had a team meeting this week. Same thing. We're constantly trying to circle back to it. And it's hard, right? It's hard to, we set the standards, but then do we actually hold ourselves accountable, hold our team members accountable? It's hard. So yes, I totally agree. And that something we always have to keep talking about.
You bet. You bet.
Well, Lesli, let's jump in. Let's jump into you and your story. So, um, I think the thing that yesterday when we did a little prep call and let's start at the beginning. I asked you, when did you when did real estate start for you? And she knocked me off my chair when she said, well, I wanted to be in real estate since I was 12. How many of you have wanted to be in it at 12? I'm not sure I want to be in it now, but so Leslie, tell us a little bit about that, because I think that really sets the tone for one, who you are and the way you've developed.
Yeah, it's true. My parents were buying probably their most at that time in their lives, their most significant property. My dad had just become the head coach at the University of Texas. Okay. And so we had this realtor named Kathleen, and y'all, she sounded like Marge Simpson on The Simpsons, that gravelly smoker's voice. And I just loved her. She was just the total opposite of my mom. And so we'd be in the car, and I would ask this lady a million questions. And I told Sandra, I said, I bet at the end of the day, that lady could only wait to light up her cigarette in the car and then get home and tell her husband about this talkative kid that asked her a million questions. But I found what she did fascinating. It was important to me to hear her feedback. I probably asked more. I think I embarrassed my parents because I was asking so many questions. But when they were finished and the joy it brought our family when this was our new home and all the reasons my parents picked it had nothing to do with money. I knew right then, it's like, this is what I want to do. I want to work with families. I want to show these properties. I want to help people have this feeling. And then God just sent me a different direction, but pulled me back in. And so when the time was right, I jumped on it. And that was in 1996.
So before we jump ahead, I just want to hang there for a second with the questions, because I want to make sure that everybody is taking away from that what I'm taking away from that, and that is that you're always coming from curiosity. You're always asking the questions, which actually makes you an amazing realtor and an amazing leader, because you're asking the question, you're curious, you want to know more, and that's how you're learning and growing.
Yes, thank you. And that is true. But you know what? I find that you ask questions when you're really and genuinely interested. So what I would encourage is when you're not, and my brother was a big business coach. But he would say, if you're just not connecting with them, then you've got to challenge yourself to become fascinated. He didn't say interested. He said, become fascinated with the person in front of you. And when you become fascinated with somebody, that's totally different than finding an interest to connect with.
Absolutely. And I really like that. Because sometimes you find yourself with somebody and you're like bored and you're like, oh gosh, I
Mm-hmm.
don't really care. But if you challenge yourself to find something that takes you deeper and really gets you excited about that person, and sometimes we don't take, I think a lot of times we don't take the opportunity to do that. We're just like, oh, this is boring. I don't really care.
And let's be honest, when we've got back to back and you're under pressure and you're a little stressed, I'm not near as fascinated. Okay. But I hope I don't come across that way. But I think we're also, if we're being honest, we know those pressures inside, but I'm not saying fake it, but I'm saying find something interesting and hang on to it. But you can become fascinated with the more time that you have. You really can. You might have to create that fascination.
I love it. That's great advice. Okay, so let's jump back to your story. So what did you do, right? Your first job, instead of going from 12-year-old to real estate, you took a different journey and then ended up back at real estate. Just walk us through that a little bit.
So quickly, right out of college, and by the way, I graduated from Purdue. Most people think I graduated from the University of Texas, but I went to the University of, I changed my major every other, my parents I know wanted to kill me. But I finally graduated from Purdue. And I'm saying this for a reason. I graduated with honors, and I really enjoyed my time. I was a great student. I loved school. Okay, because you got to learn so much, right? And meet all those people. So Anyway, when I graduated, I went back home to Texas. I sold knives, guys. Y'all know your Cutco reps that come and speak at your meetings. What? I was
Wow.
Cutco. I loved it. Made a ton of money that summer, right out of college. Made some great connections. Then they wanted me to get into management, and I was like, no, I don't want to be in knives for my whole career. But that was a great segue because when I went for my first, what I'm going to call professional interview in corporate America, I did my knife presentation and I just substituted their company and what I thought they did. But anyway, long story short, I hope I went into senior living. So I worked with seniors and I had the greatest opportunity to be impacted by the lives of seniors on a daily basis. And there were days it was lovely and days that it wasn't. And I think that that was an opportunity to find fascination and interest in people. I really do. I loved it. I loved it. And I worked my way up in that industry to just shy of being president of the company and owning the company. And I've got to say, when I look back, and by the way, I was my highest title position, and that was vice president of sales and marketing for the company. And I ran retirement communities all over the country and was responsible for all the sales. But I loved it. But my favorite position when I looked back was the on-site one-on-one with the seniors and their families, because we got to strategize and problem solve based on where they were at in their life at that point. And you'll understand, I was in a business, I'm going to say, I think I was in the business when I look back of selling hope,
Oh,
right?
wow. You just gave me the chills. Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
well, it's true. I looked back on that. This was the last stop, right? Until the
Wow.
big stop. So I wanted it to be, I was kind of like, y'all remember the Love Boat, Julie?
Of
I
course.
kind of saw myself as Julie. They were going to have a good time come hell or high water, you know? And that was a wonderful experience for me. And then I had my own consulting company in it for a while. And then come 1996, it was time to get into real estate with a no-name company called Keller Williams. And loved it. That was before the Red Book. That was before all of it. And it's been awesome ever since.
So Leslie, what was it? I mean, you obviously had a great career. You sound like you were very, very fulfilled with what you were doing. I love the fact that you said that you were impacted by the seniors.
Yeah.
Obviously, you impacted them as well. So what made you make the change?
It was time. Remember, I had that passion to be in real estate. And you know, when y'all hit your ceiling of achievement in something, so you got to do something different, right? If you got to grow. And I had reached that point
Mhm.
in that industry. Now, interesting. I got lured back into it a year and a half later because I kept getting offered positions, big title positions in that field, um, by the biggest companies in that field. And it pulled me out of real estate. I got in and believe it or not, was up for rookie of the year. You want to know what my average sales price was my first year in the business? 97,000.
Wow.
Average. Average. I go to closing, and if anyone actually got money at closing, we celebrated like crazy. Okay. It was during that time, right? So I look at some of these markets lately, I'm like, you should have been through that. But
Right.
anyway, fast forward. So I got lured back into corporate America because I felt like God was saying, not yet. There's something undone. Let's go back. I want you to do something else. And then I got back into real estate in 2000. I stepped out for what, 3 years, 3.5 years. I was traveling a lot. Um, and so came back to real estate and just started selling. And that's what I wanted to do. I just wanted to sell real estate and help people, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's what I did. Sold about $1 billion worth of real estate. And then in 2008, I was recruited to Keller Williams as a team leader. Keller Williams, South Lake DFW.
Nice. Well, we are so fortunate that we got you back.
Thank you. It was weird how that works, right? That's note to self. Stay in relationship with people. I literally had been speaking about levels of care for families, and one of the very top agents in our market, anyway, was with Prudential, and he had come to something I was speaking at, and he said, "I've been looking for you," and I'm like, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Let me see what phone numbers you've been trying to reach me on." And he had them all. I was like, "Okay, you're legitimate. You were trying to find me." And he had been my mentor in some other aspects of real estate before. So we joined and partnered. And then I helped build his team. And then we started our own boutique brokerage. And then I went back to Keller Williams. So it was an interesting time.
Wow. Lots of moves, but always progressing forward. So when we were talking yesterday, one of the things that we talked about, which I really loved, and I don't know that we've heard this from too many people, we were talking about your relationship. Everything about you is relational. Like everything that we talked about, relational relationships, it's all interwoven. So I think that's one of the biggest things to take away from today is to be in relationship with people and all people. And one of the things that we talked about was how you approach the other agents, the agents that you're working with. Notice I said with, not against.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people feel like we're working against them, like we're not working together in a transaction. It's like we're working, to see who can win, which we really should both be winning. But talk to us a little bit about that, because I think that you have a really, really unique approach to that, and that there's a lot that we could all learn from that.
Well, I feel like I've really been gifted by the relationships I've had across the years, and I mean that. Both as a team leader, when I took on the role of team leader, I had a team. I had a very successful team. We were one of the big top teams in my market in DFW, and not big. I think there were 7 of us, but we were very productive. And anyway, so coming from an agent mentality into leadership, one of the biggest change I had to go to was I wasn't allowed to compete against the agents, of course, and shouldn't be. I love that about our company. And so I started seeing the agents very different. I fell in love appropriately. I fell in love with my agents, right? I fell in love with my agents. I'm fascinated by them. But here's the deal. I had a lot of agent relationships in my market. And so now that I'm back into production, by the way, in the Austin Hill country, on Lake LBJ, my second largest constant level lake in the country, and in DFW. So now when I'm working with agents, I see them different, right? I look at agents are my conduit to my business. And this is what I was saying to Sandra, and this is what I explain to my clients. It is important to work with an agent that has great agent to agent relationships, because they are bringing us the buyer 9 times out of 10, mm-hmm. Right? Sometimes we are, but normally it's the agent on the other side. So you've got to get to know the agents in your market. You really do. And respect them. Remember that comment in the beginning about become fascinated? Become fascinated with your biggest competitors, by the way. What are they doing that you aren't doing? It's quite humbling. Mm-hmm. I think that's why we don't like to do it, honestly. But then once we do, we can make some changes that move us forward. And then they get to learn who you are. And then I will tell you, I would say the majority of my business is agent referrals from all over, also from other companies, from people I've helped. And what is that saying? If you want to, for the right reasons, and I told Sandra this, everything needs to really be authentic and genuine from your place of where you're coming from, right? Not not, there's a difference between strategic and purposeful and conniving and usury. Does that make
Mhm.
sense? So
Absolutely.
I think when you come from that place of genuinely wanting to get in relationship and serve people and help them, how can I? Here's what I lead with. I hope you'll lead with this. And I know, Robin, you've heard me say this a million times. I don't approach it from how can you help me? Who do you know that I need to know? Does not come out of my mouth. What comes out of my mouth is who do I know, Sandra, that you need to know?
Mm, I love it.
And for one thing, my clients go, holy cow, who all do you know? Yeah, I know a lot of people. And so do y'all. So why are we leading with who do you know that I need to know instead of who do I know that you need to know that could impact your business,
Hmm.
that could
It's just
impact your life?
just flipping it. It's powerful to flip that.
Yeah, so take that, and this is what I'm doing right now is really using those relationships. I work with the clients in my markets. I work with the agents in my market. They are part of my marketing strategy. So if your key, for instance, if your key advertising trigger is social media, then you might try this in a format on social media. But again, it needs to be authentic and it needs to be on purpose and strategic at the same time, but not ooky. I wish ooky was a real word because we all know what ooky feels like, right? So one of the things I was telling Sandra is I'm in a market that's very similar. If any of y'all are old enough to remember the Andy Griffith show, which was based in Mayberry, USA. I live in Mayberry for the affluent. Okay, it is a very affluent resort community. Um, on Thursdays, the private jets start coming in from Midland, Texas. All right, they're coming to their lake houses for the weekend, and then they leave. I mean, they fly in and rattle the windows of the offices. I mean, these are jets coming in, and yet it's friendly and it's fun, and everybody knows everyone. We still read the newspaper called the Beacon. And so when I realized this, I'm like, this is interesting. So I run a half a page ad every other week. And it's always about the property. It's not about me. It's always about the properties. And they're beautiful pictures and they're big enough to see. And then when I sell something, I'll put sold on there in a red old timey advertising, old red thing that says sold. But under the description of the picture, it says, congratulations, Sandra Rathe. Thank you for bringing the buyers. What a wonderful transaction. And I'm telling you, I've gotten so many calls. And the agents will call me and go, oh my gosh, a friend of mine saw in the paper that you actually congratulated me. That is so nice. Thank you. But y'all, who all is that impacting? It's impacting everybody involved in that transaction. The clients see it, they go, wow, she's not a greedy realtor.
Hmm.
She's not an egomaniac. I'm not suggesting anybody we know is, but I'm sure there's some that are. And so ego's healthy, by the way. It's the mutant ego that isn't. And so when you're able to put yourself out there where you're proud of those succeeding around you, and don't get me wrong, I'm probably one of the most competitive people you'll ever meet in your life, but it's not win at all costs. We can win together and be collaborative. I'm just going to happen to cross the tape first. Okay, so that kind of competitive is healthy.
Hmm.
But when you can embrace the clients and the agents, I'm sorry, the agents, I think of them as clients, when you can embrace the agents in your market, like a client, quite frankly, they begin to work for and with you for the right reasons. For
Hmm.
the right reasons. And people want to be in a collaborative environment most of the time, right? So that's been really great for me. And I also find them reaching out on how they can help me in the area and vice versa. I recommend it highly. Engage with the agents in your market.
I love it. And you said something yesterday that I thought was really, really cool. You said that you'll actually tell your clients that people want to work with you, that you embrace the other agents. And so that
Right.
makes it an easier transaction. It makes it, people want to show your properties. So it's actually a selling point. It's a reality, but it's a selling point too, because you're going to get more action and more people want to work with you because of the relationship that you develop.
That's exactly right. And as a matter of fact, this was actually good. This is so old school, but it was good. So I have this listing that's not on the water, um, and it's beautiful. It's 8,000 square feet. It's gorgeous. View of the lake, view of the golf course, view of everything in the hill country. It's fabulous for 3.7 million. And we weren't getting any showing. So I called the top agents in our market, my fellow top agents, and said, I would be so honored if you would come for a special preview, just me, you, and a handful of other handpicked top agents that I think will have the clients for this property. My seller's going to be there. I want to personally introduce you so that they have a face with the name when you do bring a buyer to take a look at their home. And I had 8 come and do this with me. And I really wasn't planning on my seller going through the whole house with us, but she did, and she got to brag on what she loves most. So we kind of leaned into that. Then I had a broker open about a week later. 3 people showed up. That's it.
Wow.
Okay, that's it. And you know what my seller said? I didn't care if anybody showed up. You brought the cream of the crop. I got to meet them and I watched how they interacted and reacted to you. And she said, and you didn't get to hear what they said about you when you weren't in the room. It was awesome. That's a third party testimony that you can't pay for.
Right. No, that's so smart. And those, I mean, what a privilege for those agents to be the ones selected to come. Now they feel special. We all love to feel special, right? The more special we feel, the more we are going to accommodate that person who made us feel special, or we're going to go out of our way for them. So that small activity, that small invite was super powerful.
It was, and it was more fun for me too, because I like to have fun. It was more fun for me because, and I got to hear their real feedback. I'm like, tell me the real feedback, y'all. What do we need to do in this room? Would you change this? This kind of bugs me a little bit over here in the corner, but it was productive. My seller got to see collaboration, which you don't see often. And you know me, I had a goodie bag for everybody when they left with specialty wine glasses etched with the address and my fancy brochures and a little bottle of Prosecco. And they're like, we knew you'd have something. We couldn't wait to see what your giveaway was. Okay. So it's those little things that make a big, big, big impact. And what I see are agents not inviting agents or giving them anything as a giveaway because they're afraid they'll take their good idea.
Hmm.
And hopefully we have more than one good idea a year, right? So
Right.
I think it was productive. I hope so.
Yeah, no, that sounds amazing. It's very smart. We've just started doing brokers opens ourselves because our territory really, it didn't work very well. But as we've expanded and as our price point has gone up, brokers opens are becoming more and more powerful. And as properties are sitting longer, we've got to be more creative with how do we show the seller what we're doing. And so we're doing a lot more brokers opens and really trying to be creative with it. So anybody have any great ideas, put them in the chat. Would love to hear them. We're trying to get more and more creative, and we've got some great agents on our team who love to do like what you do, the bags and making it special, and then people want to come to the next one, like they look forward to it. It becomes almost a tradition for them.
Well, and I will say 2 things on that. I'm also really comfortable with. There's one specific team in our area. They actually come from San Antonio up to our lake, and they have a massive, massive lake database. Well, they'll call me and say, hey, would you mind if I come and shoot a video of that new listing you have on the water and shoot it out to our database? I'm like, what time can I meet you there? I'll have the lights on. The windows treatments will all be out. Let's get you on there. If you want me to get a picture of you in front of the pool, I'll do it. Whatever, to come and shoot my house. And do you know how many agents have said, I'm surprised you let so-and-so take videos of your listings? I'm like, why? They're putting me in front of 23,000 people I haven't met yet.
Right.
And when I do, they're going to buy my house. And who knows, I may win them over later, pay the
Right.
agent a referral fee. Okay.
Right.
So, I mean, y'all, this is how this business works. If you're going to be in it a long time,
Yep.
it's
Yep.
friendly competition. And the other thing I'll do too is I like to gift people, and y'all, it doesn't need to be extravagant. It can be, depends on the price point. I have more fun when it's a little bit extravagant. But I like to surprise people. When Brady talks about surprise and delight, one of my surprise and delights is for the agent on the other side at closing. I will have a small flower arrangement that's lovely. By the way, it's not carnations. Have a lovely small bouquet waiting for the agent on the other side. I find out what their drink of choice, if there is one, and I gift them that, and it's waiting for them at closing.
It's
And there's a
brilliant.
letter, and when it's my listing, it's a letter to their buyer that says, congratulations on your new home. You have been working with an awesome agent who I have the highest respect for. Congratulations and welcome to the area.
You're just continuing to create that collaboration.
Yeah. That's one of the best things too. Agents, to me, if you really feel like that's a good agent, you respect them, tell their client.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an agent to meet on some very intricate properties. And when they show up with their agent, that's one of the first things I say. If it's true, and it
Mm-hmm.
almost always is, I'll say, oh my gosh, it's so nice to meet you. By the way, I know you already know this, but you're working with one of the finest agents in our area. I love doing business with your agent.
Nice. I
And
love it.
everyone settles down.
So, Lesli, talk to me about how do you stay in touch with your past clients? We're talking about relationships and everything. So, let's talk a little bit about the actual clients. I think it's a little challenging sometimes to be creative, to figure out how do we stay in touch, especially people that have moved away. Do you stay in touch with people that sold out of your area and they moved away?
I haven't been as good about that as I would like to say I am, but I just haven't. With moving out of production into leadership, and then moving out of leadership back into production, that was an interesting change anyway, right? Like my clients that knew about it were ecstatic. They were like, "We are so glad you're finally back," right? They loved it. But I lost touch with a lot of my clients while I was team leader, but I still had my team, but they weren't involved with me personally.
Right.
And not just that, when I was president of luxury, I just didn't have the opportunity to stay in touch with my clients unless I saw them and I haven't been good about my social media presence. Quite frankly, while I was a team leader, I did not utilize social media as defense. I didn't want people to have access to my agents. And then it became a habit of not really getting on there. And so y'all will see me on social media this year. That's one of my goals, is to actually do that, because I do think it's essential. But I would say probably the most effective thing for me has been, and I sound so Pollyanna, y'all, this is not a Miss America answer, I promise. It's truth. I go really deep on my client relationship, really deep. Like it's like being married to them during the transaction. So it is intense. It's very deep and relational. And sometimes I may go 3 years without talking, and they'll call me and say, well, oh my gosh, you still haven't even seen the house. I'm like, this is nuts. And we can pick right up where we left off because that relationship is deep.
Mm-hmm.
So, but what I'm doing right now for all my past clients, I like to send Harry and David at Christmas, and it's memorable. You'll be shocked how many people love those pairs, especially when they get to open the gold foil. it's memorable. It's something that involves, they get to open something. So I will send a very nice Christmas gift to every listing that I've had for that year, every buyer that I had, every hot person that we just didn't get it done, any expireds. And then I'll send another level of gift, which would be the pairs, to everybody that I had a listing with that didn't close the year before and a buyer the year before. And I go back about 3 years and send gifts. So, um, other than that, I'll be honest. I'll send a thank you note if I see them at dinner. I'm hugging their neck. I always respond to their texts, but I have not done a good job of a systematic stay in touch.
All right. Well, maybe this is your friendly reminder today to, but I appreciate your honesty.
Yeah,
How about, I think that you did mention that you do events though.
I do events. I love events. So I do events, any excuse. There's an event. Okay. And so I do stay, they are my invite list, my
Yep.
clients. They are
So,
my
so,
invite
so
list.
that's a way you stay in touch with
Oh,
them.
yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Um,
So Leslie, I actually don't enjoy doing events. I find it to be a little overwhelming to put it together. The details, like I am a very detailed person, so sometimes I can get like wound up in the details. My assistant who's on here, we just laugh at each other. We're like, oh my gosh, like it is not our thing. Now we do them, but it's not our thing. So tell us a little bit about like how you do them in a way that you don't have that overwhelmed feeling or that feeling of, 2 weeks into the planning, you don't want to just say forget it and not do it.
you know what? And to me, if I plan too far ahead, I know y'all remember this about me when I was at Leisure. If I plan too far ahead, it's not going to get done because it loses the excitement for me.
Yeah.
And so, but if I can get it done, 10 days ahead of time, have an invitation out, that is great. Right. And my invitations normally say, okay, this is last minute, get on your party shoes. Right. To acknowledge it's quick, and I know it's quick. But I would say this, the biggest advice I can give is plan an event around the theme of the house and the buyer you think is going to buy that house. Does this make
Mm.
sense? If
Hmm.
if mine is a certain lakefront opportunity, I have different buyers for different parts of the lake and different price points. Okay. And by the way, everybody wants to see a $5 million listing. Not everybody wants to come take a look and have a finger sandwich I'm just going to say it, when it's 500,000, for instance. Okay. It's nice, but it's not as exciting. So
Hmm.
when you get those opportunities, you need to lean into them, but go with a theme that you think represents the highest and best use of that property.
Okay.
And then just build on it and layer it and layer it and layer it down to photos of the house on cookies and down to, I had a seafood spread because we're on the water. It wasn't pizza. Now, pizza would have been great. I had another house where I had pizza, but we made them in the pizza oven out back, right? It wasn't pizza. Right. So
Hmm.
just make it fun. I have glasses made for them with the address. Start with the neighbors, invite the neighbors, get them excited. Their invitation time for my events is an hour before everybody else.
So
Okay.
it gives you time to
It's lead
communicate
gen.
with them. Hmm.
It's lead gen. And not only that, I'm saying the whole time, y'all, who do you want to move in and be your neighbor? Who's been talking to you about wanting to move here?
And how
Right?
are you doing your invites for the neighbors?
I am hand delivering a handwritten note invitation. I knock on their door and I take them an invitation. And again, I take them the goodie bag. It's got my fancy graphics or my brochure. It's got two glasses that I ordered for the event. It's got Prosecco in it. It's got those cookies and it's got
So
pictures.
So Leslie, let me be clear about this. 30 years into the business and you're still doing it yourself. You're still knocking on the doors and personally going there.
I do. I still hold open. I love open houses, guys. I guess I'm a nerd. I love them. But they're wonderful when you have a wonderful product. And that's motivation for me to get great listings because I enjoy those. And I don't do open houses on occupied houses. Mm-mm.
Interesting.
Yeah, they can be furnished, but not on occupied.
Not unoccupied.
Not unless I have security guards. And, you got to look at your
Yeah.
price point and where you are. But no, no, people are nosy. I don't. Mm-mm.
Interesting. Okay. I love what you said about you've got a great product. So you're doing your event to show off the house and people want to see it. So you're being very strategic about where you're doing it. So if you have an ugly house, I'm guessing you're not doing a big broker's open or invite only kind of thing.
Not unless I create an event that is about, now, if it's a great location with an
Okay.
ugly house, that's okay. All right. And so I want to create an event, but I'm going to do an event for, let's say, designers, stagers, and the people around that industry that do flooring. And I'm going to get their feedback and say, okay, y'all get creative in this home. What do you think? This is the opportunity because they may want to buy it and flip it if the location is fantastic. Does that
That's
make sense?
smart. That's so smart. And I'm guessing you don't worry about having competing people there. Like it's for anybody and everybody that would want to maybe come and redo it and flip it or stage it or whatever. So you're not worrying about I only have one stager or only one contractor. You're creating a buzz.
Unless I want to actually feature one.
Okay.
So if I want to take my key flooring person or my key lighting person and I say, hey, y'all, I want to do an event for you to showcase you. I've got the perfect house where you can come in and say what you would do. Let's do some vision boards and let's promote your business while I promote my listing. Let's create a vision for people. Does this make
That's
sense?
great. So then
Yeah.
how do you advertise that? I mean, we have a lot of homes like that like they probably don't show so great and they need to be, they're at that age where they need to be done. So how do you advertise that?
I do evites out to my database. And then here's the beauty of what I just described to you. I go to my vendors and say, I'll send the invite out to your database.
Oh, stop, stop. Oh, you're killing me now. Why
Right?
have we never done this?
Yeah, it's layering. So again, who do I know that you need to know? And who do you have in your database that's not in mine that I can help?
Brilliant,
Make sense?
brilliant.
That's another reason I like empty houses. So I used to represent a lot of builders. Okay, and I'm back into that now, representing some of the top builders out here. I love it. So I'll take an empty house, let's call it what it is, my blank canvas,
Hmm.
and I'm going to create some vision. So y'all need to get excited about what you have to market and sell. It's not just a house. This becomes this canvas of what you get to create. So I will look at my clients and I'll say, okay, for instance, who do you have that sells high-end clothing from home? It's like Worth or Carlisle or etc. Whatever those clothing lines are. Okay.
Hmm.
Now, by the way, you can do this in any price point. Okay. You really can, but you tailor the product type to the audience.
Right.
Right? So I bring in tables and chairs, I bring in entertainment. By the way, who goes to things to hear their kids play the violin or the harp or whatever? Every parent whose
Everyone.
child. So maybe bring in the string quartet from the local high school or the private school and let them showcase them for 30 minutes, tell everybody who it is, and you get all the proud parents and their friends and their relatives, and they all come to hear them play. But it's, and what you're doing for your builder is you're driving eyes to the property.
Right.
But it's, you create an event to drive traffic, but then who do I know that you need to know?
Right.
How can I help you?
Oh, layering. Okay, guys, you all have to remember that word, layering. And like you're blowing me away right now, Leslie. But I will
Awesome.
say it does, again, I go back to the overwhelm of, okay, now I've got to find all these people that I can help. I guess once you start, you get your database, you get your people that are in different buckets, right? And then you're going to go back to them repeatedly and develop a tighter relationship with them.
Yeah. And basically, I'm newer to my area where I am now. I mean, my parents have lived out here in this community for, almost 2 decades. But I grew up in Austin. So, but this is on the outskirts of Austin. This is out in the pretty part, out in the lakes and the hills, the hill country. And I'm saying that facetiously. Austin's beautiful, and this is even more beautiful. That's how beautiful it is. But um, I've been selling out here now for 3.5 years. So I'm meeting these people, or all the providers that did the stonework in the houses that I'm representing for the builder. I'm like, I want to showcase you. And first thing they say to me, I don't like to speak in front of people. I'll say, don't worry about it. I'm going to script all of it. I'm going to tell you what to say. I'm going to even help you say it if you have trouble. So you don't know, I'm going to make you look like a superstar. Okay. And then you got to deliver, right? But that in the city, like just kind of going in and give back to your community. And the more you give back to your community, the more it wants to give to you. And they
Hmm.
do it in different ways. And that's what I'm finding. It's old school getting back in the trenches. And I think we've been a little transactional in the last several years. And what the last 2 years, I think, have taught a lot of us is I can hear Gary saying it, you got to slow down to speed up. And the market's forced us to slow down. The problem is we got to be a little more intentional in what we do and do some things that are a little more relational versus transactional. This is all
Hmm.
relational.
Yeah. And you're really you're interweaving it so
Yes.
well that it's not like you're recreating it every time. Like you're interweaving it so it works together. It kind of feeds itself and it gets easy after a while. Like the first couple times I'm sure is challenging. It would be
Yeah.
really challenging for me with the event, fear of events, but you're creating basically a system.
And you know what? Do it where you have, I invite other agents when I'm not inviting my database. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't, I'm not that concerned with that up in DFW because I was in that area for so long. That's not ever a concern with my clients. Aren't going to work with anybody else anyway. I know that. But here where they're starting to learn me, I don't really mix my audience with other agents. Does that make sense?
It sure does. Hmm.
Now, sometimes I will, but it's on purpose. And that's a layering tool too, is to say, hey, this is a broker open, but the gift is we're going to do it by boat. Like, remember on the lake, we're going to do this by boat. I want you to bring somebody in your database that could be a potential client for this property.
Hmm.
Then I want them there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yep. And you're giving them a luxury experience.
Hmm.
I love it. I
And
love
it's
it.
fun.
So Leslie, I usually open it up for questions. So I don't see a ton of questions because I think you've been really thorough in your explanations. But anybody who has questions, either raise your little digital hand or put it in the chat. We did have a couple of comments and questions, so I'll just read through them really quickly. Um, Karen wrote in relation to thanking the agents, also thanking the title company would be nice too. Totally agree.
Yes.
And the lender, if the lender did a good job.
Yes.
Um, Judy asks, what made your decision to go back to KW and not have your own brokerage?
I went back to KW. Now, remember, when I came out of retirement living, I actually didn't go back to KW. I went to, at the time, my, I'm going to call him a mentor that became my partner, uh, was at Prudential at the time, and went there. And then we did start our own boutique brokerage. And then I went to Keller Williams because it was an opportunity. You ready? For the opportunity to be in leadership. And I didn't even know I wanted to be in leadership. As a matter of fact, I fought it. Told him no forever. Mike Brody kept trying to get me to do that for years. And I just kept fighting it because I didn't understand it.
There's a time and a place for everything, right?
Yeah.
So it's, you've had great experiences that have, made you who you are today, and a lot of variations, which is great.
Sandra, I got to tell you real quick. I gave you that example yesterday about the agent that was closing 44 transactions a month, right? Hi, Lori. And it was Spalding Pyron. So talk about a lead generation, turning something, lemons to lemonade. I got hacked yesterday late. I sent out, I don't know, 20,000 emails unbeknownst to myself. And I have had an opportunity to reconnect with so many people I haven't talked to in even 10 years. And it's been awesome on one hand, horrible on the other.
Yeah.
But I got a call from that agent that did the 44 closings a month.
Yep.
And he said, I miss our talk. By the way, he has his own brokerage. He said, I miss our talks. I miss that I could always talk to you and learn something. And just when you think you don't have something to share, I want each of you to know you have something to share. And sometimes we just don't even know we're sharing what they need to hear. Yep. So share, right? So share.
Sometimes I think I get stuck in, everybody knows this. Like if I know it, everybody has to know it. Like we take things for granted, or we just assume that it's, common, and it's not. We don't realize what other people don't know. And sometimes, what we don't know that other people know. So,
and we all have a superpower, and they're not all the same. It doesn't mean one's more super than the other.
Nope. 3 years of doing this, and every single call has been different, which is so much fun. I learned something from every single person.
Absolutely. You mentioned something I want to say real quick with the title company. One of the things I used to coach my agents to do, and I just now when you said to appreciate the title company, get used to the title company understanding your expectations. We talked about standards in the beginning.
Yep.
For me, the title company, I never expected any leads from the title company. It had nothing to do with my business. I did not care. Did I get them? Yeah, but I never asked. That wasn't a preface to any relationship with me. However, I expected this. I expected them when my clients called, I wanted them to be treated like the President of the United States was calling. Okay. And one of the first questions I wanted to ask is, oh, well, who referred you to Lesli? Mm-hmm. Because I want my clients to feel special that they have the opportunity to work with me. Mm-hmm. I want the title company to third-party testimony me authentically. Does this make sense?
Yeah, very smart.
The third-party testimony is something we all need to learn to be a little bit better at, and you need to teach your people to be better at third-party testimonying you. It's just like it's hard to brag in your resume sometimes. You need other people to third-party testimony you, and it means more. So one of my standards with title and mortgage is to third-party testimony authentically, but they need to do it. I don't need to ask them to do that. That needs to be automatic. And when they show up for closing, I don't want them to have a ring on every finger and an ankle bracelet. Now, that's a personal pet peeve. So I expect them to talk to my clients. I expect them to have conversations with my clients, and I expect them to know them by name. So I make all those introductions in the beginning. It's a lot of heavy lifting, but it's worth it in the end.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You're very, like you said, you're very purposeful, genuine, but purposeful, and making sure that things happen the proper way. And you take the time, you definitely slow down to speed up.
Yep. I would love to know if anybody got a nugget, even if it's super simple.
Yeah, we're getting lots of comments that people are loving it, that they're learning so many things. We probably have time for what, if one person wants to, Barb. Oh, did I lose her? She raised her hand and then she went away.
Hi, can you
There
hear
she
me?
is.
There we go.
Hi, Barb.
Hi. Hi, Leslie. I love listening to you speak.
You're so
Um,
sweet.
you're just amazing and love you so much.
Aw,
In the very beginning, when I hopped on, I was a few minutes late, and I heard you say your brother had given business advice of become fascinated with people. And I do have authentic curiosity about everybody. And you sparked a story that a chaplain at a hospice told to me the other day. There's a woman, she's a chaplain at a senior living community in Massachusetts with probably 1,000 residents. She was sitting with this old woman in her probably 90s. And she said, "Tell me about your life." And the woman said, "I just raised my family. I just raised my family. I didn't do much. I didn't do much." And she said, "Well, tell me about your early life before you had children." And this woman said, "Well, I was the assistant to Eleanor Roosevelt, and I was with her when FDR died at Camp David. I was with her
oh
back at the
my
house
God.
while FDR was with his mistress at Camp David and died."
Oh my gosh.
Yep. And this woman thought she had no story to tell and just raised her family and lived a simple life. But that's a fascinating
Yeah,
thing that she didn't even, it wasn't even top of mind. She had to be prodded by the hospice chaplain to like think about her past. So everyone is fascinating. Everyone has something.
I
absolutely.
love that, Barb. Everyone does have a story. They just don't get asked to say it very often.
Yep. Leslie, I want to be mindful of everybody's time. How can people get a hold of you if they want to send you a referral or they want to thank you for today?
Absolutely. You know, with this scare on my KW email, so the one that got hacked is Lesli Akers at kw.com. My other email that would probably be safer is Leslie, Lesli, at Akers, Akers, legendteam.com. And I respond probably quicker to text. I'm at 512-584-6264. And you're also welcome to call me.
Awesome. Thank you, Leslie. This has been amazing. I appreciate you and I appreciate everybody who jumped on here today. And if you loved what Leslie had to say, give her a 5-star review. If you leave us a 5-star review, we'll leave you one as well. And I hope to see some of you at our event here on the 22nd or at Family Reunion. Leslie, will we see you there?
I hope so.
All
We're still getting
right.
that planned. Sandra, thank you for the invite. You do a lovely job. And
Well,
what an honor today. It's great to see
thank you.
everybody's sweet faces.
All right. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Happy New Year.
Thank y'all.
Bye.
Bye.